In a big loss for the anti-woke, a U.S. District Court has permanently blocked Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' gender-affirming care ban. Yes, anti-wokeists, suck it. In a ruling issued on Tuesday, Judge Robert Hinkle had said Florida has adopted a statute and rules that ban gender-affirming care for minors, even when medically appropriate. The ban is unconstitutional. You hear that? The law included bans on puberty blockers and hormone replacement therapy, restrictions from licensed healthcare providers giving care to their consenting patients, and the criminalization of care under the legislation. In the ruling, Hinkle writes, transgender opponents are of course free to hold their beliefs, but they are not free to discriminate against transgender individuals just for being transgender. In time, discrimination against transgender individuals will diminish, just as racism and misogyny have diminished. To paraphrase a civil rights advocate from an earlier time, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. I do love that. That said, unfortunately, I think it will take a while for the anti-trans stuff to diminish. But, you know, the guys, look, Judge Hinkle's pretty hopeful, all right? A little bit more hopeful than I am, but hey, it's nothing wrong with having a positive outlook, all right? That said, there are people that are trying to bend it back, and I mean the moral arc of the universe. In fact, the DeSantis administration immediately announced that it will appeal the decision because, of course. Now, here is what one of their spokespeople have said about this. Quote, through their elected representatives, the people of Florida acted to protect children in this state, and the court was wrong to override their wishes. We disagree with the court's erroneous rulings on the law, on the facts, and on the science. As we've seen here in Florida, the United Kingdom, and across Europe, there is no quality evidence to support the chemical and physical mutilation of children. These procedures do permanent, life-altering damage to children, and history will look back on this fad in horror. Now, the DeSantis administration disagrees with every major medical organization and leading World Health Authority. Over 30 organizations support healthcare for transgender people and youth. And again, the DeSantis administration is saying, no, we don't agree because we don't like trans people. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. They also said that there's no quality evidence to support this, as I mentioned. Look, really, because for one, your framing is crap. It is not chemical or physical mutilation, okay? Be very, very clear, all right? Prior to puberty, transition is entirely social and includes changing names, pronouns, clothing, and hairstyle. That's it. The judge pointed out that, at least insofar as it's been shown by this record, no transgender minor has ever been castrated or intentionally sterilized in Florida or elsewhere. You think if that would happen, Ron DeSantis and his administration's lawyers would have presented that. They didn't, because they don't have any examples of it. Look, in teens and adults, the Journal of Adolescent Health found that gender-affirming hormone therapy also was beneficial and resulted in lower rates of depression, suicidal thoughts, and suicide attempts among older transgender and non-binary teens. So here's the thing. They're out there arguing, we're trying to save the children from these life-altering decisions, whereas if they, in a lot of cases where they don't get this hormone therapy, they end up doing, harm to themselves, actual harm to themselves, that include ending their own lives. So they're not, the right wing is not saving anybody by denying, gender-affirming care, okay? Now, research shows that access to puberty blockers during adolescence is associated with a significant decrease in suicidal ideation. Using a trans youth's authentic name and pronouns has also been shown to improve mental health and reduce suicidal ideation. Okay, so look, that shows you that the real threat to trans people, the real threat to trans youth, is not hormones or surgeries. Okay, it is bigotry. It is transphobia. That is the problem. In fact, 85% of transgender and non-binary youth and 66% of all LGBTQ youth said that the recent debates in state laws restricting the rights of transgender people have negatively impacted their mental health. Yeah, I wonder why. 52% of trans and non-binary youth seriously considered suicide in the last year, and 1 in 5 had attempted. 36% of LGBT youth reported being physically threatened or harmed due to their sexual orientation or gender identity. In fact, the other day, I did a story, talked about one transgender teenager who was assaulted in a bathroom using the bathroom that she, that corresponded to her biological birth sex, right? So she's a transgender woman, born a male, so she used the men's room and was immediately beaten up. You can't win if you're a transgender person, okay? And that's exactly what the right wing says, well, you should use the bathroom the sex of your sign at birth and you wouldn't have any problems. Well, she did, and she immediately ran into problems. Bigotry, homophobia, transphobia. That's it. So again, the risk here, these are the people that are most at risk. Trans youth. They're not at risk from trans ideology. They're at risk from transphobes. That's what it is. You're not saving them. You're actively harming them. You're taking away their liberty, and they know this. They know this. Some of the notable statements from this court case show that the legislatures who passed this ban were not thinking of the children. No, they were acting on hatred. The opinion notes that a House member loudly referred to transgender witnesses at a committee hearing on a related bill as, quote, mutants and demons. Yes, mutants and demons. It is unlikely he would have made a public statement of this kind, knowing that it was being recorded for inclusion in the legislative history, if he did not believe at least some of the other legislators would share his view. Others who voted for the bill were present. None of them called him out. And again, this is from the court order. One of the sponsors also said, the truth is there is no such thing as someone being able to change their sex. This completely misunderstands gender identity and shows quite accurately that the sponsor does not believe gender identity is real. Consistent with this view, he said transgenderism is not a medical issue, but a deterioration of our culture. There's evil in our society. That's the quote here. Another House member said the bill, quote, saves trans people and recognizes who they are in the eyes of God. It doesn't save trans people. Still another said that all people were created in the image of God. He created them, male and female. He created them, folks. This is rock solid, irreversible truth. You are either male or female. This is not subject to one's opinion. No one who voted for the bill expressed disagreement with any of these statements or called the speakers out. So again, this is not about protecting children, okay? This is about hatred. It's about transphobia. All of this, he writes, is direct evidence, or nearly so, that these legislatures acted for the admittedly impermissible purpose of preventing or impeding transgender individuals from adhering to their transgender identities. 100%. And finally, the judge noted that in the closing argument, the defendants, through their attorney, admitted that there was absolutely no factual basis for any of these remarks, that the record included no evidence that any Florida child had ever been castrated or mutilated, that the plaintiffs asserted no right to be so treated, and that the preliminary injunction did not address surgeries at all. Quote, the sponsor just made it up. Well, of course, that's what they do. They're making it all up. And the reason they do so is they want to scare people. This is Satanic Panic 2.0, okay? This is a manufactured culture war issue, which is aimed at harming the most vulnerable people, trans youth, okay? So, I mean, it's very, very clear in that order, the examples, okay? Very clear what the purpose was. Now, the plaintiffs in the case were very, very happy. In fact, Plaintiff Lucian Hamill said in a statement, I'm so relieved the court saw that there is no medical basis for this law. It was passed just to target transgender people like me and to try to push us out of Florida. This is my home. I've lived here my entire life. This is my son's home. I can't just uproot my family and move across the country. The state has no place interfering in people's private medical decisions, and I'm relieved that once again, I can get the health care that I need here in Florida. Simone Chris director of Transgender Rights Initiative for the Southern Legal Council, said the federal court saw Florida's transgender minor health care ban and adult restrictions for what they are: discriminatory measures that cannot survive constitutional review. Today's ruling blocks the state of Florida's cruel campaign to deny fundamental rights and basic health care to its transgender citizens. We are so proud of our brave plaintiffs, without whom we could not have achieved this victory for the state of Florida. Trans rights activists also celebrated the victory. Alejandro Caraballo, clinical instructor at the Harvard Law School Cyber Law Clinic, said in X, quote, "Huge win for Florida. The restrictions on providing gender-affirming care to trans youth and adults have been found unconstitutional after a full trial and are now permanently enjoined. Huge win by Simone Chris and Southern Legal Counsel. Happy Pride." Journalist Aaron Reed added, "This is a truly massive victory for trans people in Florida. The law there targeting trans youth and adults has been almost entirely overturned." The plaintiffs in the case were represented by GLAAD, the National Center for Lesbian Rights, Southern Legal Counsel, Human Rights Campaign, and Lowenstein Sandler LLP. So, look, huge win for everyone involved, except for Ron DeSantis. Hey, well, you know what? I suppose, I mean, Florida is where transphobia is, it goes to die, apparently.
Florida's ground zero for the nursing home. I mean, we're God's waiting room.
Yeah, for transphobic legislation, because it keeps getting overturned, and Ron DeSantis keeps getting embarrassed. I love it. So, look, a huge win for equality, a huge win for transgender rights, and during Pride, no less. So the timing is fantastic. That said, there's still a lot of work to do. There's still a lot of states that are trying to pass similar laws against trans people. And so we got to continue to do what we can to fight for our transgender brothers and sisters, as well as our non-binary friends and family. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.